Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Siddhika. I'm a consultant psychiatrist in Chennai.
Hi, I'm Dr. Janaki. I'm a consultant psychiatrist in Chennai.
Today we are going to be talking about OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. We'll be covering the following points. What is OCD? What are the symptoms and how do we diagnose OCD? And what are the treatment modalities for OCD? So coming to the first part, what is OCD? So OCD stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. Now here we have two components, one which we call as obsessions and one which we call as compulsions. So obsessions are defined as any intrusive thoughts, images, or impulses which come to one's mind. So by intrusive, we mean disturbing, not completely in one's control, and which come up even when a person is not thinking about that particular topic. We will give you examples as we go ahead. And by compulsions, we mean certain actions that a person has to do in order to neutralize these obsessive thoughts. So that a person basically feels that he has to do a particular action to counter the obsessive thoughts or images. And that is what we call as a compulsion. So when this happens over a period of time, that is where we call it as obsessive compulsive disorder.
So there are different types of obsessions and compulsions that can happen in obsessive compulsive disorder. So one of the very common ones that we do see is the obsessions that about dirt or germs being present, contamination, obsessions of contaminations as we call it. So people tend to feel that their hands are dirty or the surfaces are dirty, vessels are dirty, and as much as they clean them, they don't feel that it is clean enough. So one part of them knows that they have cleaned it and they've done a good job, but the other part will be always anxious and wanting them to repeat this action again and again and clean again and again. And that part becomes so when they repeat that activity again and again to overcome the anxiety, that is called the compulsion.
Right. So there is no sense of satisfaction that the vessel is cleaned or their hands are cleaned. Right?
Yes. And similarly, there are other different types of obsessive compulsive phenomena. So there is a obsession of checking the compulsions of checking for obsessions of doubt as to whether they have done something or not. So for example, people will check whether they have turned off the gas or not. They will check whether they have turned off the lights. Some people even check whether their computer has been turned off. Some of them even go back to to their offices to check whether they have switched off the computers. One of my clients used to even say that they would have to go back to the office late at night to check whether they have deleted the data that they were supposed to delete off the computers, and they know for sure they've done it, but they will still have to check because it causes extreme anxiety when they don't check it.
Yes. So here we have the obsession is basically a doubt that whether something has been done or not, whether you have switched off the gas, switched off the computer, locked the door or not, and then going back to check, which is the compulsion. Checking is the compulsion here. And between this, you have the anxiety that when you have the doubt before you check, there is extreme anxiety. When you check, the anxiety comes down till you get another obsessive thought again, and then it becomes a cycle which goes on repeating.
Yes, that's right. And sometimes people have some numbers to which they need to check or they need to wash. So for example, some people say that they have to wash 7 times, then it becomes 9 times, then 11 times, 20 times. It keeps on increasing. The intensity and the frequency of these obsessions and compulsions keeps on increasing. So that's when we know that the disease is progressing.
Right. Then we also have these obsessions of that things should be symmetrical all the time, and things should be in their place all the time. So then that everything should be symmetrical. You have to keep rearranging things so that they are in their place. And if it is not so, then you get anxious or angry and you have to keep correcting it. That also happens.
Yes. Then there are some specific aggressive obsessions when people tend to see images that they are hurting someone else, or they feel that when they see a pointed object they may pick up and then they may hurt someone else. So usually this is only an obsession and it is not associated with any compulsive thoughts, but there are undoing compulsions that people do. So they may actually avoid going into the kitchen, or they may say something to reverse that thought. They may say, oh, I won't do it, or they may say some mantra or something to overcome that becomes the compulsion that they need to do at that point. And there are blasphemous thoughts also, sexual thoughts that people have when they see an object that should not be fantasized about, or some person that they should not they feel that they should not fantasize about. They may look at that person and have sexual thoughts, look at an idol, or look at something symbolizing purity or God, and then they may have sexual thoughts about it. And to overcome that, they may say, they may actually stop visiting temples, they may stop praying, or they may go the other way and pray excessively and say, no, you have to undo it, all this. And so that becomes the compulsion.
So basically it's like they start the prayer, and if they have a thought in the middle, they have to say the prayer all over again. So again,
Yes.
repeat that as many times till they feel that I've said this prayer without having that intrusive thought in the middle.
What are the effects of all this? What does it do to the person? What will a person see that indicates that they have trouble with these kind of things? One of the important things is, of course, that they will waste a lot of time doing all this, and they will have less time to do other activities in their life.
Basically, when people have obsessive compulsive disorder, for a long time they're not able to recognize that it is an illness, that these are symptoms. They think that these are thoughts that they're actually having, and these are things that they're supposed to be doing. But associated with that, they have a lot of anxiety, and most often patients come and say, I can't bear my anxiety, it is too much. And they don't come and say that basically I'm having weird thoughts. They come and say that this anxiety is too much for me to bear. Sometimes relatives of the patient can bring the patient to us and say that, we've been noticing these compulsions, and it seems okay for him, but we are not okay with him spending so much time in the bathroom, or washing his hands so many times, or sometimes because they are scared of something, avoiding certain situations. Okay, we see a lot of anxiety, we see a lot of avoidance, a lot of guilt. Why am I thinking these things? Why am I having these dirty thoughts? Am I a bad person? So again, a lot of guilt about themselves, about having these thoughts, and it makes it very difficult for them to share that
Exactly.
they are suffering with other people. So it takes maybe sometimes even 2, 3, 4 years before others started recognizing that something is going on, he's not completely okay, and then they come for help. Yes. So as you said, one of the things is that you spend so much time doing the compulsive acts or ruminating about these thoughts that you cannot concentrate on your work, and the time that you spend on these obsessive thoughts or compulsive acts, that's a very important category that we check on to see how much time is getting wasted.
Yes. So very importantly, you said that people come to us much later than when they actually experience the symptoms. And one of the very important reasons is secrecy towards the symptoms. One of the reasons for that is also, the fear that they are bad people. But there is also a fear that, when they say these things, then these things might actually happen. So there is that fear that, when they actually spell out what is happening with them, it may actually lead to them having done the act, or something really bad happening to their family or loved ones.
Yes.
So usually people start having these symptoms at a very young age. The age of onset is between 18 and 25. But the symptoms can be present even before, in childhood. Like they may notice that when they're, walking around, they may touch only certain tiles. They will not walk on the lines in between, or they will count trees whenever they go, or they'll count lampposts. So those kind of things may happen even in childhood. But the core symptoms usually appear between 18 and 25 years of age.
Yes, true. And we do see a lot of elderly people also with the obsessive and compulsive symptoms, and some of them may have taken treatment earlier, but sometimes they even ignore symptoms all through their life, and then it becomes very severe whenever there's a trigger, whenever there's a stressful point, and then they come for help.
Yes, that's right. So some of the older people, when they come with these symptoms, they usually come with the thoughts. Usually it's about checking, and it's about, hand washing, usually about, contamination and checking. Whereas when you come to the younger age group, it can be all of these, but some sexual thoughts, blasphemous thoughts are very common in the younger age groups. Okay, so now if we move on to the next part of our the talk, that what are the modalities of treatment that is available, and what can we do to help patients with OCD. So of course, as in all psychiatric illnesses, there is medications, and there is also psychotherapy to help with obsessive compulsive disorder.
The basis basically is to understand that the person is not doing these deliberately. These are symptoms that are present in this disorder. So the intrusive thoughts which come up are basically due to what we can call simplistically chemical reactions which are happening in the brain. So the thoughts that a person has are automatically happening because of disturbances which are occurring, and that is why we need to treat it with medication. So we do both therapy as well as medication, but it's important to know that a person cannot control these thoughts willfully. The therapy that we do is to modify their behavior and to be less affected by the thoughts that they get, but mainly to reduce the intensity of the thoughts. They need medication.
Yes.
So we are just going to give you a brief idea of what kind of medication is given. So the process basically involves lesser amount of a neurotransmitter which is called serotonin in the brain. So to understand, I think many people know that serotonin is what we call as the happy hormone, but low levels of serotonin in some of the tracts in the brain, and in the brain has many electrical circuits, kind of a system. So lower levels of serotonin in some of these tracts cause obsessive compulsive disorder. So we want to increase serotonin in these tracts, and so we basically give antidepressants at a dose. We start at a low dose. We slowly, gradually increase the dose till the patient's symptoms resolve. And after that, we need to continue the medication for a considerable period of time so that there is no relapse. So we also give medication to reduce the anxiety. So this could be a short-term medication where we help the patient to reduce anxiety, maybe help the patient to sleep. So because that is the main thing which is very troubling to the patient. So this is the main idea of the medication, but we're not going to talk so much in detail about it.
Yeah. So the therapy side of things, there is a procedure called exposure and response prevention, ERP, which is used as a behavioral therapy. That is, it helps in modifying the behavior of obsessions and compulsions. The ERP, the main strategy in ERP is to look at what is causing the anxiety. So the client will write down a hierarchy of what is causing anxiety to that person, and they will grade it, right? And when they grade it, they will put it in order. So that's what is called the hierarchy. So they will put it as the least anxiety causing thing to the most anxiety causing thing. So they'll write more than 20 or 30, whatever number of obsessions or thoughts they have. And after they grade it, they will start with the least anxiety causing obsession, and they'll practice it out and sit with the anxiety. Basically, the therapist will help them stay with the anxiety and to see that the anxiety actually goes away. It comes as a wave, it will go away, right? And you can actually stop doing the compulsion and nothing will happen. Okay, nothing bad is going to happen. So this is what the therapist will make you practice. So for example, if a person has contamination obsessions, and the least anxiety provoking thought is probably, if I touch the table then my hands will get contaminated, right? And the most anxiety provoking thought may be that if I clean the toilet then my hands will become contaminated. So they will start with the touching the table thing, and they will sit with the therapist will sit with the client. The client will touch the table and they will not do their ritual of washing their hands, and the therapist will sit and say, how is your anxiety now? They will grade it at 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, and they will see, the therapist and the client will see that the anxiety is going down. So this is what basically ERP is about.
Yes. So there, that was a very good example.
With all of this, how do you recognize that your loved one or someone someone in your family has obsessive compulsive disorder? So one of the things is that you will see repetitive actions which are taking a lot of time, and they may also cause a lot of distress to the client, to the person himself, but they may also cause a lot of distress to the family members. So for example, a person with cleanliness or contamination obsessions may say, you need to wash your feet before you come in, you need to wash your hands so many times, the vessels need to be kept this way, the books need to be kept this way. So a lot of lot of time may be spent by you in cleaning up for the other person because the other person demands it. And similarly for the checking, they may ask you, request you to check repeatedly, and they may seek reassurance, have I done it, have I done it, have I done it? And even when you to say it many times, they don't realize that they've done it. And and then how does this affect the caregiver? The caregiver may become very irritable, okay, because they're seeing that a person is never on time, they're always taking more time than usual, they're spending more money and more water, okay, they're draining the whole water in the house. Mm-hmm. And then they're putting the washing machine on again and again. So these kind of things may really irritate the caregiver. So the caregiver may actually become as involved as the client is in the whole process, like cleaning obsessions, cleaning compulsions. The caregiver may as much be involved in it and may not realize that something is going on until the intensity and the frequency is so high that it's causing a burden for everyone around them.
Yes, like sometimes like even if there is a person who has this obsession about contamination and has to wash repeatedly, they may take a long time to have bath, and finally after they finish washing their hands, in the end they don't want to touch the tap. So I know of some patients where their parent would actually close the tap for the child, and so the parent is involved in that whole process, is enabling the compulsion to go on. The child knows that if I don't close it, my parent is going to close it, and so they stay with that compulsion. They're not able to get rid of that habit. So one important process is also to make the caregivers understand that you are not supposed to take part in these compulsive acts as well. And sometimes it's also about the reassurance. When the patient keeps asking, have I switched off the light, have I switched off the gas, then the partner of the patient may have to keep saying yes. Sometimes the patient may tell the partner, you go and check whether it's done. At that time the partner has to go. So they it so happens that they get involved in the whole process. And so kind of removing them from this equation and then treating the patient also takes a lot of time. So it is a lot of effort for the therapist, for the patient, as well as for the relative, and a lot of time, effort, and consistency. That is what is required for the treatment.
Yes. One of the red flags is that people with obsessive compulsive disorder can also go into a deep depression, because many times they feel guilty about what they're going through, and they cannot, as they are very secretive about it. They can't talk about it, so they may go into a depression, and they may present with depressive symptoms rather than with the obsessive compulsive symptoms. So that is also something that the caregiver may need to pick up.
Yeah, so we basically did this video because we realized that so many people do not know what exactly the symptoms of OCD are. We have tried to explain it in very simple language, but if you do have some doubts, please feel free to write to us, and we'll try and explain even more better, or even some more details that we can give as far as possible. And so the important thing to understand is a person who has an OCD is don't try to label them as crazy or weird or odd, and don't make them feel bad about their symptoms. Understand that these are symptoms, this is a disorder, these are symptoms which can be treated. We have a good medication, good therapy to treat this condition, and the faster we work with the patient, the better the results are going to be. So as if we understand that, we will take emergent action, not like and there are a lot of myths also, like if he gets married he will be better, or if he just tries to stop himself, we know he can do it. But instead of putting the burden of the treatment on the patient himself, which you would never do for any other condition, once you understand that these are symptoms, the condition is treatable, you will take the patient to a psychiatrist for good treatment. So this is what we hope for with this video.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.